Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So I think you just finished your TUT. Today we will start with bond valuation, and also, if time permits, we will go to stock valuation also. Before that, I heard that even at the TUT you were inquiring about the midterm test. Midterm test will be the test will be designed by Professor Veerokon, who did the previous sessions with you. I started with bond valuation. So all the previous sessions were done with Professor Veerokon. He said he will be having a MCQ type question, midterm exam, where you have to answer the MCQs. There you won't be developing models, but in the final exam and also in the assignment, what you'll be doing is you will be developing models. Okay. So he will be, the questions may be, I think he taught you about the Excel functions, the data functions, data tables, ගැන කතා කරන්න ඇති ඊට පස්සේ solve and goals කතා කරන්න ඇති කියලා මම assume කරනවා. ඒ වගේ theory part එකෙන් and how to develop equations, say present value equation, how you refer yourselves and develop a equation. ඔය වගේ කොහොම හරි MCQs answer කරන විදිය තමයි questions එන්නේ. But in the final exam you will be having this model development, and also for the exam you won't be getting from for this MCQ, the midterm test, you won't be getting from bond valuation and stock valuation we are doing today, which I am doing. Okay, so everything before that will be included in the midterm exam. And I also think I will talk with Professor Veerokon, so he will just give you a brief I'll tell him to give you a brief summary of what the midterm would be like. Okay, I think it's best if we get that information from him. But you won't be getting from bond valuation and stock valuation. And it will be a MCQ exam. And we will, okay, the date would be 5th March on a tutorial session. You'll be having the midterm exam. So today we will move on to our lesson. We were doing bond valuation. We started with a basic model in bond valuation. I hope you can see the screen. So we started with a simple model of bond valuation. And you have to remember, as I said, in your final exam, you will be developing models. You have to have a structure, the input area and the output. And once you input data into the input area, you can't type anything in your calculations. Everything has to be referred from the input area. So therefore, the link is there throughout. Okay, so we took a simple model of bond valuation, and we know bond value equals to present value of all future cash flows, which includes the coupons plus a maturity value. Okay, and then we further developed the existing model where we use two rate conventions, effective annual rate and the annual percentage rate. In the same model, we are using two rate conventions, effective rate and the annual rate. Annual rate, you just take, you just divide the rate by the frequency, which is 2. If it is effective annual rate, you have to use your effective rate calculation equation and come to the effective rate. Okay, in this case, because the frequency is 2, you are getting the square root. And we use these two conventions and calculated the bond price. And if you can remember, we use the if function. If function use kala, the heading of the model plus the rates and the heading, the rate convention, this cell, and also this one, discount rate. All these three, we linked it with the if statement. Okay, and then we moved further and we went into a dynamic model where we use spinners from the developer tab. We use spinners, and how when bond variables change, any of the bond variable change, how will it impact the price? That's what we did. That's what we did in the dynamic chart. හරි අපි spinners use කරා developer tab එකෙන් ගත්තා. ඒක use කරලා මේ dynamic chart එකට ආවා how when we vary one of the variables how අපේ chart එතකොට ඒකයි input area output link එක තියන්න කිව්වා හැමතිස්සෙම refer කරන්න කිව්වේ මේ areas ඔක්කොම link වෙලා තියෙන නිසා it affects the chart එක වෙනස් වෙනවා when the spinners are changed. Okay, and then that is calculating the value of the bond. Then we moved into and I showed the structure for this also, 5 bond variables, how we can use functions in Excel to calculate any of the 5 variables in bond valuation by using Excel functions. Okay, so number of periods, you get the NPR function, face value or the maturity value, you use the future value function, and for the discount rate, you use the rate function. Coupon payment, the payment function, and the bond price, present value function. Okay, by using Excel functions in a model, if 4 of the variables are given, how to calculate the 5th one by using Excel functions. Model එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් build කරන්නේ Excel functions වලින්. When 4 of the variables are given, how to calculate the 5th one, you have to develop the model, and I showed you that day. Okay, and today what we are doing is we will be calculating the now previously we calculated the price, now we are moving into calculating the rate when the time periods are equal and if the time periods are not equal using Excel. And after that we will move on to අපි එක ගානක් කරමු bond duration. Okay, we will develop a model on bond duration and then stock valuation. Okay, as time permits, we will go through the models. Okay, so first of all, we'll this one, even this one I talked in the last few minutes of last lesson, but anyway, we are starting from this. So there are 10 million bonds offered by a corporation. Date of sale is there, offer price, face value, and when maturity date is there, and the coupon. Here the coupons are paid annually. Okay, so we have to calculate yield to maturity on 15th December 2020. Okay, yield on 15th on the date of sale, you have to calculate the yield. So here again you have to have a structure. You have to have a heading. මතක තියාගන්න when you are doing in the final exam, there has to be a heading, the input area, the output, the timeline. Okay, all this has to be. Okay, so these are the information which were given. So in the input area, you have to put your all the inputs, you know, the date of sale is there, and the maturity date is there, and face value and the bond price on the purchase date. Okay, so here we will be calculating the yield. Okay, so the period, these are the years from 15th December 15, 2022, 15th December 2027. So first we'll calculate the coupon. Please refer, and annual coupon is 7%. And remember, we named all the cells. Last time we named all the cells. Here the face value we named it as M. You can see here the cell is named as M. We did this because if not, we'll have to lock when you're dragging across equations, you will have to lock the cells. So to prevent that, what we do is as soon as we develop a model, we name the cells. So each of these cells are named. Okay, and the periods. Okay, and even the cash flows. Please don't type, refer. Okay, now it is not named. So what we can do is we can name it. Define name. We will define at coupon, CP. Okay, so when we refer it, it is referred as the coupon, and you drag it across. And in the final year, you will have the 1,000 rupees plus the coupon. Okay. And then we have to calculate here in year 0, you don't have a cash flow. This is ordinary annuity. So you have to calculate the yield. What we do is we use the yield the rate function. Use the IRR and calculate the yield. Okay. Okay. Since you are calculating the IRR, if you are doing manually, you will have to do a trial and error method. But here you give the cash flows. So initial price, sorry, I refer to the initial price. And then okay, we calculate the IRR. You have the initial cash outflow plus the coupon payments you will be receiving throughout the years and the final years the maturity value, and you calculate the IRR. Okay. And also you can see how sensitive the bond price is to changes in the interest rate. Okay, how bond price varies with the interest rate. Metana hadatti, you can either use normal, you take the normal rates, you type some rates, say, okay, you take some rates and calculate the bond value. Bond value, you use the present value and calculate the bond value. I also want you to try this. In previous sessions, you may have done data tables. Okay, data tables. Go to data tables. Go back to what you did in data tables with Sir and see how to develop a data table to calculate the variation in bond prices due to interest rate. Okay, if not, මේ තියෙන විදියට අපිට මෙතන bond value එක ගන්න පුළුවන් present value equation, present value use කරලා bond value එක ගන්න පුළුවන්. If not, try with data table function. Okay, try with data table. So you go to data. You will have what if analysis data table. Okay. Data analysis. Okay. ඔගලන්ගේ මේ වගේ බලද්දී data analysis what if analysis you get the data table. Okay. Please try this with the data table. එතකොට data table ගැන කතා කරද්දී ඔයගලන් කතා කරන්න ඇති there are row wise data tables and column wise data tables. Okay, this is a column wise data table. Make a develop karna kene, this would be a column wise data table. Row wise data table is where you have a data table in rows. And you have to remember, when you are developing a data table, you have to have an initial equation. You have to have an initial equation and a changing variable. මම මේ ටික කතා කරන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ දැන් mid term එකට එද්දි මේ data tables ගැන අනිවාර්යෙන් අහනවා. That's why I am coming back to data tables. Data table. Okay, you get the data tables in what if analysis data table. So you can have row wise data tables or column wise data tables, and you have a initial equation and a changing variable. And මෙතන data table එකක් create කරනවා නම් this would be a column wise data table. For that you need an initial equation. So your bond value would be your initial equation. Okay, and the changing variable would be the market interest rate. Yeah. I want you to try this, developing a data table for this. Okay, develop data. Okay. And then why we are looking at this IRR is, we'll go to the next example. And each of these models you have to develop. Okay, slides වල තියෙන හැම model එකක්ම develop කරලා තියාගන්න. Okay, so we developed this one. So our IRR or the bond yield came as 650, and here the second one, it says you are planning to buy the XYZ corporate bond on 15th May. Okay, so we are buying it on a between days, okay, at a market price of 1,050. Calculate the YTM. You have to calculate the YTM if you are buying in between days. Okay, make a coupon in 15th December, but here he's buying on 15th May. Okay, we'll go to the Excel model. Okay, so bond yield calculation, again you have to have your input area, and you have your information, okay, the face value, and also you have to name the cells. Okay, and the bond price is 1,050. And the coupon rate is 7%. Date of issue maturity date is 15th December 2027. Date of issue is 15th December 2020. Date of purchase is 15th May 2021. Number of periods to maturity 7. Okay, and the coupon payment, as we did before, we will calculate with the coupon rate. Here I have not named the cells, so then we are referring to cells. So if you are going to do that, what you have to do is you have to lock the cells. Okay. And then the time period, date of purchase is this. And then you draw the timeline from there on. එතනදි විතරයි එතකොට අපේ date එක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. Then the time period is this. Okay. you have these are the two different dates. And then the cash flows, you will be receiving the coupon at end of each period. Then again, if you have not named them, you have to lock them. Okay, and your purchasing price is 1,050. Okay. And you have to so here you from period 1. These are the periods. Okay, and then you have to calculate the bond yield. But you have to be careful when you're calculating the bond yields. Now the time periods are not equal. So there is no, previously we bought on December 15. Now we are buying on May. Okay, so you have to calculate the yield. So you have the option of using IRR. And in Excel, there's a special, in a special situation like this, we use XIRR. Okay, so this is why we mainly look at this. So you can't, in this situation, you can't use IRR. Okay, IRR is taken for, we refer only the values. Okay, we don't consider the time period. Okay, we just refer to the values and calculate the IRR. Okay, but here we have to consider about the time period because the time periods are different. Okay, so therefore we go for XIRR. When you go to the XIRR function, you can see it is asking for the values plus the dates. Okay, so therefore, when you are calculating bond yield, when bonds are bought in between days, what you have to do use is the XIRR. So what we'll do is we'll go to the XIRR and calculate the values are these. And the dates, you refer to the timeline. Okay, and you get the XIRR. Okay. So we'll just we'll convert it to percentages. Okay. So it considers the here. If you look into the explanation of XIRR, values is the series of cash flows and schedule of payments corresponding to the cash flow is considered here. Okay, so we'll just calculate IRR. Then we are just referring to the cash flows only. Okay. But in XIRR, you have to consider the time between when the time periods differ, you have to use the XIRR. That's what you have to remember. Okay. And then we'll go to the next. I hope you can see the slide. ABC Corporation issues the bond at the same as XYZ Corporation. The only difference between the two bonds is interest payment is semi-annual. It pays interest on 15 June and 15 December. Calculate the YTM of bonds. Miyuki, can you see the slide?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So here they are talking about two bonds. Okay, two bonds. So you have to have your input area. And also the interest rate, the coupon is paid semi-annually. The coupon is paid semi-annually. I'm not going to do this one, but you have to do it. You have to have your input area, you put all your variables and then you calculate the coupon rate. Since it is semi-annual, now you have to divide 7 by 2 you get the semi-annual coupon, and then you calculate the bond yield.
It's 1745.
So you use both IRR and XIRR. You use the same two tables. So when you're calculating the XIRR, you have to put the dates. Remember that you have to put the dates, and here periods, you can just write the periods, 7 into 2, 14 periods. You write the periods, and then you calculate the IRR, both XIRR and IRR. Here what you have to remember is, when you are calculating IRR, it gives the semi-annual IRR. Okay, when you are calculating the IRR is given as the semi-annual IRR, but when you are calculating the XIRR, it gives the annualized yield. Okay, it gives the annualized yield. So when you are using IRR, if you are using IRR, you have to annualize it. Okay, you're getting 3.25. This is semi-annual yield, but annually you have to calculate the annualized yield. Okay, so I hope you will do this in your own, so that we can move to the next part. Make a වෙනසක් නැති නිසා you identify the cash flows and calculate the two IRR, base XIRR and IRR. මේ ටික විතරක් මතක තියාගන්න. You have to put the dates. And XIRR, you get the annualized yield. IRR, you get the semi-annual yield. Okay, and the next one. Suppose you are going to buy the XYZ bond on 3rd April. Here again, we are buying in between days. December 15th ගෙවන්නේ coupon එක. නමුත් අපි buy කරන්නේ 3rd April. Your bond dealer quoted you a price of 1,050. Now you have to be careful. Here we are talking about a quoted price. Quoted 1,050 for the bond. Quoted you a price of 1,050 for the bond plus an accrued interest. How much will you be paying for the bond? So this is calculating bond price in between days. Quoted price එක දීලා තියෙන අපිට calculate කරන්න කියන්නේ how much will you be paying for the bond. Okay, you have to calculate the accrued interest component for this bond. Okay, same example, but you are buying on 3rd April. And I hope you remember the difference in when you are saying prices. We said you have quoted price. When you are saying bond prices, you say quoted price plus the interest component. Price equals Q plus I. That was our equation. So what is the price you are going to pay for this bond? So we'll develop a model for that. So these are the bond value with accrued interest. So I have the input area. You have to remember, you have to have the heading, the input area, the face value is there, coupon rate. I have not named them. You have to name them. Issue date, maturity date, number of periods to maturity, and the purchase date is 7th April 2021, and quoted bond price is 1,050. Okay. So we develop our model. May highlight කරන ඒවත් important. The appearance of the model is also important when you are doing developing models. Okay. Bond purchase date. We are not writing again. We are referring to the cell. Okay. Previous coupon date would be December 12th. 15 December 2020. The previous coupon date, because we want to know the fraction of time. Okay. Next coupon date. Next coupon date we have to type 15th December 2021. Okay, and the coupon over the year, face value into the coupon rate. Okay, make copy drag karan nathi nisa, we can just give it here. So then you calculate the fraction of time. Number of days since the last coupon, 3rd April 2021 minus December. And number of days between the coupon, we know this is annual, so it's minus this. We have 365 days. Okay, and then we can calculate the accrued interest component. So accrued interest equals interest into the fraction of time. 109 divided by 365. Okay. And we know the quoted price. They quoted 1050. And accrued interest, we know we calculate 2090. And then the bond price. That's so what you have to remember is bond price equals okay, based on this equation, you calculate the bond price. Okay, and also we can calculate the yield. You buy at 1070 cash outflow එකක් විදියට දාන්නේ on 3rd April. Okay, and you know the coupons. This is why it is important to name the cells. If not, you constantly. And on the in the year 2027, you get face value plus the coupon. Okay. And then you calculate the yield. But here you can't use IRR because the price is calculated in between days. So you have to go for XIRR. You refer to the values and dates. You get the yield of the bond using the XIRR. When you're developing the model, it has to look like මේ විදියටම කියන එක නෙවෙයි මම කියන්නේ පිළිවෙලට තියෙන්න ඕනේ නිකන් ගාන විතරක් නම් හදලා තියන්න එපා. Okay, what we are expecting is not for you to just make the sum. The structure has to be there. Idea එක තමයි input area එකේ variables වෙනස් කරද්දී ඔයගලන්ගේ output එක වෙනස් වෙන්න ඕනේ. හරි. ඒතර අපිට output එකට අවශ්‍ය විදියට තමයි අපි model එක accommodate කරන්නේ. Model එක build කරන්නේ අපිට output එක ඕනේ විදියට. Okay. So remember that. So these are the examples you did relating to yield. අපි මුල එක කරේ නිකන් timeline එක දාලා bond yield එක හෙව්වා using IRR, and I told you to develop a data table. So this would be a column wise data table. I want you to find the relationship between interest rate and bond value using data tables. Then we did this example, if we buy between bond dates, how to calculate the yield, and we said we are using XIRR. And I told you to do this by yourself, where you calculate the yield when coupons are paid semi-annually. We are using both IRR and XIRR, and then the accrued interest, bond value with accrued interest. මේ models ඔක්කොගම structure එක ඔයගලන්ගේ slides වල තියෙනවා. slide එකෙන් ඉස්සලා structure එක හදාගන්න, ඊට පස්සේ equations ටික ඔයගලන්ම type කරන්න. Okay, structure එකටම යන්න, or else you can develop your own structure, but remember that. Okay. So that is relating to bond valuation. අපි dynamic chart එක ටික ඉවර කරලා අපි yield එකට ගියේ. Before ending bond valuation, I want you to look at this. if you remember, you have done bond duration. By now, I know you have done portfolio management. You do bond duration in your portfolio management, even if you have not done it. What we are going to do is, we are going to develop a model for bond duration. Please go through the sum. Okay. So what we are doing is, we are going to calculate the duration of a bond. Miyuki, can you see the slide?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. First we calculate the bond duration, and then we are going to immunize the bond immunization. Here, these two concepts come with bond portfolio management. Bond duration is where you calculate the average maturity of the cash flows. Okay, you calculate the average maturity of cash flows, and based on the duration of the bond, you develop the bond portfolio. Okay, so first of all, you the first investment is given, a bond with annual coupon payment of 80, remaining life of 3 years, and the par value is 1000. The current market is 950.25. It has a yield to maturity of 10%. Calculate the duration. Okay, so you calculate the average maturity of the cash flows of this bond. So before developing, immunizing the bond portfolio, we'll calculate the duration. Okay, so you have bond duration, you have your heading, input area, the coupon, time, par value is there, then it is selling market price is 950.25. It has a yield of 10%, and this is the equation to calculate the duration. Cash flow into time divided by P0 is the current market price. Okay, year 0 the price second. Okay, so we you develop the calculation of duration. So this would be our output. This will be our output. So you have time and the time. Then we calculate the amount of cash flows. You are receiving 80. And in the final year, you are receiving 80 plus the 1000 rupees. Okay. And you calculate the discount factor. The discount rate yield is 10%. So here we are calculating the factor. Okay. Factor equals, present value equals 1 divided by 1 plus R is 10%. Okay.
It's 18 hours.
1 divided by 1 plus R to the power. You refer from your timeline. Here the timeline is in a column now, 1. You have to make it constant only the yield. And these are the discount factors. Okay, 1 divided by 1 plus yield to the power 3. Okay, and then you calculate present value of each cash flow into this. And you calculate the summation. You get 950.25. Okay, you calculate the present value of the bond. So even here the price is 950.25. And now here what we want is to calculate the duration. The equation is present value into T. Present value of the cash flow into T. So this equals T into the present value. Okay. You have the present value of the cash flows, and then you calculate the summation. 2639 This is this part divided by P0. So you calculate the duration of the bond. This divided by this. Okay, you get 2.78. The duration of this bond is 2.78. The 3-year bond is a 3-year bond, but the duration is 2.78. Okay, this is the average maturity of the cash flows. Okay, why we need this is we need calculate the duration of the bonds in portfolio management to face the risk. And the risk interest rate risk. So interest rate risk and the price risk we call it. So if it is a short-term bond, we know a short-term bond, when we receive cash flows, we reinvest. Okay, that is our assumption. Always, whatever the cash flows we receive, we reinvest. Short-term, long-term, our key assumption in finance is we are always reinvesting. So therefore, if it is a short-term bond, the risk of interest rate is, if the interest rate goes down, then you will have to invest in a lower interest rate bond. So for a short-term bond, when the interest rates goes down, it is a risk. Okay, that's an interest rate risk. Similarly, for a long-term bond, when they are going to sell the bond, if the bond price interest, the yields go up, the price would go down because there's an inverse relationship between price and the interest rate. Okay, so then again, you call it the price risk. There's a risk associated with, if the interest rates goes up, the price would be lower. So there's a risk associated with that. So to face that, we calculate the duration of bond. Based on the duration, you develop your portfolio based on the time period of the portfolio. Okay. We'll go to the next part of the sum. So here, now this is the, now we calculated the duration of the bond 2.78. So this is the requirement now. The manager has a cash outflow of 1 million to be paid in 2 years' time. He's in need of 1 million in 2 years' time. Make a single cash flow. So single cash flow in 2 years' time, we then take it duration as 2. At a 3-year bond duration 2.78, there are cash flows in between. Here only single cash flow, so the cash requirement duration is in 2 years. Manager is considering investing in 2 different issues. One is the 3-year bond. Api then hadapu bond with 2.78 duration. Second year is the 1-year bond with single payment of 1,070. Okay. We will assume this is a treasury bill, 1-year treasury bill, which is maturing in 1 year's time at 1,070, and there's no coupon. So the duration is 1, and the currently selling at 972.73. Okay, the cash, the bond, we have to develop a bond portfolio for 2 years because our cash requirement is in 2 years' time. By combining these 2 securities, we are going to develop a portfolio where we are immunized against interest rate changes. Okay, interest rate change ekakata kohomada face karanne based on these 2 bonds. Okay, and the next part of the sum, it says how the interest rate vary. Okay, calculate the value of the portfolio if the interest rate in the market remain 10% until the second year. Change 9% after 1 year and remain 9% until the second year. Change 11% after 1 year and remain 9% until the second year. Okay, how variation in interest rate would impact the bond portfolio. Okay. So what we'll do is, now we calculated the duration of the 3-year bond to 2.78, and now we are going to find out what are the proportions we are going to invest in these 2 securities to develop an immunized portfolio. I hope you can see the Excel sheet. Somebody says to do the calculation so slower. I think you're talking about this part. We were doing this one. So here, අපි මේ duration එක හෙව්වේ cash flows ටික identify කරා, discount factor එක calculate කරා, present value එක හෙව්වා. හරි. ඊට පස්සේ මෙතනට එද්දී අපි කරන්නේ අපේ මේ equation එක duration equation එකේ තියෙන present value into time. හරි. 72යි 73ක් ලැබෙන්න time එක 1. 66.12 time is 2. So multiply it by time. And here multiply by 3 and you calculate the summation of these cash flows into time. Okay. And then we calculate the duration. This divided by this 2.78. Okay. So now what the sum says is, so this person is going to develop a bond portfolio with this security and a 1 year security. 1 year security to immunize against changes in interest rate. Okay. So now, so bond immunization, I have my heading. I have the inputs. Fund requirement is 1 million. No, sorry, say, yeah, 1 million. Okay, 1 million. Api when duration එක විතරක් තියෙනවා. Duration is 2. Investment options දෙකක් තියෙනවා, first one and the second one. හරි මේ ඔක්කොම ගානේ දීලා තියෙන details තියෙනවා. First එකේ coupon එක 80යි. මේ ඔක්කොම type කරන්න ඕනේ. Coupon එක 80යි. Time period is 3. Par value is 1000. Current market price 950. Yield is 10. And we calculated the duration as 2.78. Okay. And the second investment, if you remember the sum, it says second is 1 year bond with single payment. ඔගොල්ලන්ට මේ bond duration ගාන ඔගොල්ලන්ගේ slide එකේ නැති නැහැ. මම මේ slide එකේට ඒ ටික දාලා ඒ bond duration and immunization ටික අද upload කරන්න. හරි? These two, the sum and the structure of the Excel worksheet. Okay. So in the second one, 1 year bond with single payment of at 1 year of 170. අවුරුද්දකට පස්සේ 1070ක් හම්බ වෙනවා. time එක 1 year. coupon එකක් නැහැ. It is currently selling at 972.73. Okay. And the yield is 10%. The yield of this investor is 10%. This investment is 10%. Duration is 1. Okay. We don't need the par value here. Okay. So these are the two investments. දැන් අපිට ඕනේ duration එක 2 වෙන portfolio එකක් හදා ගන්න ඕනේ. අවුරුදු 2ක portfolio එකක් හදා ගන්න ඕනේ. අවුරුදු 3ක investment එකයි අවුරුදු 1ක investment එකයි එක්ක. මේක timeline එක අඳිනවා නම් timeline එක ඇඳුනොත් මෙහෙමයි තියෙන්නේ. අපිට තියෙනවා 1 year bond එකක් තියෙනවා. 3 year bond එකක් තියෙනවා. අපිට portfolio එක හදන්න ඕනේ 2 years වලට. හරි? අපි බලන්නේ මේ portfolio එකේ 1 year එකෙන් කොච්චර invest කරනවද 3 year එකෙන් කොච්චර invest කරනවද. එතකොට අපි බලන්නේ මෙන්න මේ දිනේට ලැබෙන cash flows ටික. 1 year එකෙන් කොච්චර cash flows හම්බ වෙනවද 3 year එකෙන් කොච්චර cash flows හම්බ වෙනවද අපේ cash requirement එක ඇවිල්ලා මේක. This is our cash requirement. Okay. මෙතනට ලැබෙන cash requirement එකට අපි bond portfolio එක කොහොමද හදන්නේ කියන එකයි බලන්නේ. Okay. So for that what we do is we develop two equations. Okay. For the weight of the portfolio and for the duration of the portfolio. අපි දන්න දෙකක් තියෙනවා. අපි weight එක portfolio එකක weight එක ගැන දන්නවා. අපි portfolio එකක duration එක ගැන දන්නවා. හරි. අපි weight එක ගැන දන්නේ ඕනෙම portfolio එකක මුළු weight එක වෙන එකයි. 100% නේ එකයි. Duration එක ගැන මේක දන්නවා. Duration is 2. We need a portfolio with 2-year duration. Okay, so that is what we know. Okay, so what we do is we develop two equations. Okay, based on the two investment, I have named this one 3-year bond weight as W3. This is the weight of 3-year bond. Weight 1 is weight of 1-year bond. So based on the weight, what you do is W3 weight 3 plus weight 1. Okay, මේ දෙකේ weight එක එකතු වුණාම එකක් වෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි equation එක develop කරනවා. අපි දන්නවා portfolio එකක equation එක එකයි. මේ දෙක එකතු වුණාම W3 and W1 එකතු වුණාම it has to be 1. And also we know the duration is 2. So we develop an equation for the duration. Okay, whatever the weight we are investing in W3, our duration is 2.78. W3 කියන්නේ 3-year bond එකේ into this is our duration plus whatever we invest in 1-year security and the duration is 1 year එකේ duration එක එකයි කියලා single cash flow එකක් නම් අපි ඒක 1 කියලා ගන්න. Okay, in 1 year's time the duration is 1. W1 into 1 has to equal to 2. Right? එතකොට අපිට දැන් equations දෙකක් තියෙනවා. equation දෙක solve කරගන්න ඕන වෙනවා. Okay, you have to solve these two equations and find out W3 and W1. What is weight of this one and what is the weight of this one? Okay, you have two simultaneous equations. You solve this and find out the weights. Right? Okay, so what you do is you do it separately and calculate the weights of the two.
It's 1815.
Securities. මේ equations දෙක වෙනම විසඳ ගන්න. වෙනම විසඳලා W3 කීයද W1 කීයද කියලා හොයාගන්න. Okay, so I have already solved it. I get 43.82 and 56.18. Okay, 43.82 and 56.18. Please write these two equations down. One is for the time, one is for the duration. One is for the total weight of a portfolio and one is for the duration. Once you solve it, you get the total amount you invest in 1-year security as 43.82. The total weight of the investment in 3-year bond is 56.18. Okay. It has to add up to 100%. These are the two weights of the portfolio. Okay. And then we calculate the amount you are going to invest in each. And then the number of securities you are going to buy. And we know our requirement is 1 million in 2 years time. This is our requirement, 1 million in 2 years time. So we calculate the present value of our requirement. So you need 1 million in 2 years time. So we calculate the present value of it. Present value of the requirement equals this 1 million divided by 1 plus. And the yield of the investor is also, the required rate of return of the investor is 10%. Okay, එතන දෙකෙන් එකකින් 10% ගන්න. So constant කරන්න අවශ්‍යත් නැහැ, but you can make it constant to the power 2. Okay, අපි කරන්නේ මේ 1 million value එක ආපස්සට ගේනවා year 0 එකේ කොච්චරක් අවශ්‍යද කියලා. You get 826,438.16. This is our requirement. So from that investment, 43% is on W1, 56% is on W3. So you calculate the amount you invest. This equals present value into 43.82. 1 year investment එකේ 3,62,145ක් ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරනවා. ඒ වගේම මුළු requirement එක මෙච්චරයි. ඒකෙන් 56% ඇවිල්ලා 3 year bond එක. This is how much you are investing in the 1 year security. This is how much you are investing in the 2 year security. I hope you got it up to there. And then also we can calculate the number of securities. Because we know the current market price of both. W1 එකේ කීයක් invest කරලා securities කීයක් කරන් තියනවද කියලා බලන්න. This is our total investment divided by the current market price. We're talking about W1. Current market price is this. You are buying 372 securities. Second one එකේ මෙච්චර investment එක divided by W3 current market price is 957 securities 489ක invest කරනවා. So these are our outputs of the immunized bond portfolio. If this is a immunized, based on the duration, we developed a portfolio for 2 years, which is immunized for the risk of changes in interest rate. We found the cash flow and then the weights of each security, the amount you are investing, and then number of securities you are buying. Okay. So this is a immunized portfolio. So we are trying to find out if it is really immunized. Okay, if it is really immunized, Mika, I hope you can see the slide. Can you see the slide?
Yes, madam.
So you have now to find out if the bond is portfolio is immunized, we are changing the interest rate. That's what the rest of the sum says, 10%. That is, yield does not change, it remains 10%, 9%, and 11%. So we are seeing if changes in the interest rate, I said both for short-term and long-term securities, it impacts, changes would impact differently. So we are going to see if it is so. Okay. So I'm expanding the same model, bond immunization. You have input the first investment and the second investment, 3-year one, 1-year one. And here I have taken number of securities. Right? අපි කලින් හෙව්වා මෙතනදී 482යි 489යි 372යි 489යි 372යි in the W1. Okay. So we have our input, the first investment and the second investment. What they're asking is if the yield rates changes. Okay. So we are in the timeline in the second year. Api timeline neke 0 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And methane. We are trying to find out what is the return you will get if the interest rate is 9, yield reduces to 9%, if the yield increases to 11%, or if it remains 10%. Okay. So first what we'll do is we'll look into the 1-year security. Okay. So the 1-year security would be invested by now. It is already invested. So now we are looking at this part, first year to second year. Okay. So we know the bond can be sold at redemption value is 1070. So here you will be selling at 1070. So this equals 1070 into number of securities is 372 into, so now interest rates has gone down. There's a risk because 10% security එක yield එක දැන් 9% වලට yield එක 9% වෙලා. Okay, so you are reinvesting at 9%. 1 plus 9%. All these are constant. Rate changes. Okay. So you are reinvesting at 9%. We'll see the second scenario if it does not change. So then again, same thing. But here, now the interest rate is C25. C25 is this cell, which is 10%. Okay. Redemption value into number of share securities into the yield. And this is the third scenario. If the rate changes to D25, which is 11%. This would be the cash flows you will receive at the end of the second year. Okay. And then we move on to our second security. Okay, 3-year one. So in the 3-year one, first you will receive the coupon and you will be reinvesting it. Okay, in the first year, you will be receiving the coupon, you will reinvest it. Okay, so we find the reinvestment, this equals, we know the second one, you are receiving a coupon of 80. Okay, you are receiving a coupon of 80 into, you have 489 securities into, now we are reinvesting 1 plus, in the first scenario, the interest rates are going down at 9%. Okay, so coupon would not change. We'll make it constant. B11 is number of securities, it will be constant. But the yield rate would differ. Similarly, what happens if the yield is 10% here? It refers to C5. And here it refers to D25, which is 11%. Okay, so first coupon they are reinvesting and then they are receiving the second coupon. Okay, in this security they are receiving the second coupon as set here. So we need the cash flows as set here, so we don't reinvest it again. This equals coupon into a number of securities. It won't change for all the yield rates because you are not reinvesting it. And then the selling price. Okay, selling price means you are it matures in 3 years, but now you are selling it in 2 years in the second year. Okay, so you have to bring back the cash flow. You have to bring back the cash flow here. So we give the equation. So this equals, at the end of the third year, you are going to receive 1000 plus 80. All these are constant. You are receiving the redemption price plus the coupon. Coupon, redemption price into coupon plus coupon plus into 489 securities. Okay. But this is the amount you will be receiving in the third year. But we need the cash flow for the second year.
It's 1830.
This divided by 1 plus when are coming back, if it is the interest rate is 9%, it's B20. In the first scenario, the interest rate is 9%. And similarly, if the interest rate is 10%, coupon plus the redemption into number of share securities divided by 1 plus the yield rate. Okay. And then this. Okay. And then we calculate the summation. First security and the second security is there. We calculate the summation. And these are the cash flows. If yield is 9%, you are receiving 1,023,000. If the interest rate is 10%, yield is 10%, you are receiving 999,997. If the yield is 11%, you are receiving 1,049,000. So this is a immunized portfolio. Even though the yield rate changes, you are getting the same return. After only 1 million, you are receiving the 1 million. Keep Okay, so this is the idea of immunization of a bond portfolio, where the impact of interest rate is reduced. Okay, so that is about duration and bond immunization. Excel worksheet structure I'll put it to the PowerPoint and send it to you. Okay, so that is about bond valuation. Bond valuation එක තොර අපි areas කීපයක්ම cover කරා. Okay, normal bond calculation එකක් කරා. ඊට පස්සේ dynamic chart එකත් එක්ක bond spinners use කරගෙන calculate කරා. ඊට පස්සේ yield එක හෙව්වා IRR XIR use කරා. ඊට පස්සේ bond duration and immunization. Okay, those are the areas in bond valuation. Okay. And next what you have to do is stock valuation. I'm going to look into stock valuation also today because now we are running out of time. Next week also I think there's a holiday. next lesson. So for a holiday we'll go to the we'll look into stock valuation also today. We'll take a give me a minute. We'll look into the stock valuation also. So stock valuation අපිට එච්චර වැඩ නැහැ. Stock valuation, you know, bond valuation, we know the cash flows. There are constant cash flows where you receive a coupon and a redemption value. And in stock valuation, you know the issue because we don't know the cash flows. We can't be sure of cash flows, but the valuation mode we use is present value of all future cash flows. Okay. So in bond valuation, in stock valuation, we talk about single period model, 2 period model, golden growth model stock valuation. Single period model we know the dividend as well as the selling price at end of 1 year. Okay. Single cash flow here the Prestige Equity Share is expected to provide a dividend of 2 and a fetch a price of 18 a year later. Okay, and the rate is also given 12%, the required rate of return. But you know, when you come to a stock market, you can't predict the price into the future. Okay, it can't happen. You can't predict the price. Okay, but if you have these cash flows, you can directly calculate the present value of 2 rupees plus 18. You get the present value of the cash flows. Okay. So then you also have come across the Gordon growth model. Gordon growth model where we talk about what the growth rate of the dividends are given. Okay, the growth rate of dividends are given. So based on future cash flows, based on our expected growth rate, you calculate the price of the bond. I hope you remember the Gordon growth model equation. It equals D0 is the previous dividend you have already received. D0 into 1 plus G. 1 plus G is the growth rate divided by R minus G, which is the required rate of return minus the growth rate. Okay. I think you remember that D0 into 1 plus G divided by R minus G. That is our Gordon growth model. So then you have to go to the timeline and calculate the dividends you will receive for the next period. And then based on that, you calculate the price. Okay. So then we also talk about not only you just don't put the Gordon growth model directly. They talk about how dividends grow. We talk about abnormal dividend growths in during a special period, and then where it gets stabilized. The dividends venas and the growth venas wena vidhi you predict it. Based on that, you calculate the stock price. Then again, you have to use the timeline. You have to identify the abnormal growth periods, normal growth periods. Based on that, you calculate the intrinsic value of the stock. Okay. So in this problem, Dodgers Corporation paid 1.17 as its last year's dividend. This is a cash flow that has already occurred. The dividends are expected to grow at 30% for 3 years. Okay, that's an abnormal growth of 30%. Then it will be constant 8.1. Then it stabilizes. The required rate of return of this investment is 13.6. What is the intrinsic value of the stock? How sensitive is the intrinsic value to changes in the required rate of return? මේ sensitivity analysis එකක් කරද්දී ඔයගලන්ට ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා වගේම නිකන් table එකක් create කරගන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් best is to go for a data table. Okay. One of the main sensitivity analysis tools in Excel is data tables. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll develop a model for this. Already paid dividend is given, abnormal growth is given, constant growth is given, and the required rate of return is given, and then you have to find the price as well as the do a sensitivity analysis. Okay. So this is the structure of the model. We'll quickly go through that. So you have the heading stock valuation, you have your input area, and you have your output area, and you have the timeline. Okay. This is not current dividend. Dividend paid. Okay. They have paid 1.17 already. There's above normal growth of 30% and constant growth of 8.1% for after the third year, and the required rate of return is 13.6. Okay, so for ease of calculation, I am taking this 1.17. Format cell setup in cell yeah. Okay, 1.17. This is not even cash flow you received in year 0. We'll later hide it. Okay, for calculation purposes, I'm taking it. This equals. So there will be a 30% growth for the next 3 years. Okay, this into 1 plus growth rate is 30%. Either you name the cell, or you make it constant. Okay, and then you copy it across. Okay, and in the fourth year, we know the dividend is 8.1%. This into 1 plus 8.1%. And then, so we have the dividends now. As the sum says, this is a cash flow already received. So valuation so what we can do is we'll hide it. Format cells, custom, and you have to type semicolon. Okay, I have hidden it. And then you calculate the continuation value. From here onwards, there will be a 8.1 growth indefinitely. Okay, so we have to find the continuation value for here. We use the Gordon growth model here. Okay, so the Gordon growth model says D0 into 1 plus G, that is already calculated 2.78. Okay, D0 1 plus D, the dividend for the next period, divided by your required rate of return is 13.6, R minus G is 8.1. We use the Gordon growth model here. Okay. We calculate the summation. And since we are using the timeline, we calculate percent value of each cash flow. This divided by 1 plus required rate of return is 13.6. To the power cash flow divided by 1 plus required rate of return to the power 1. And then these are the present value of each cash flow. Present value of this is the continuation value, the present value, this is the continuation value, present value of the continuation value. So this is the intrinsic value. Okay. So this is stock valuation using Gordon-Roth model. And then it says to calculate the sensitivity of changes of required rate of return to the intrinsic value. Okay. So then you have to develop a data table. Okay. So in the data table, this should be your equation. This is the changing variable. Okay. So it can be a column-wise data table or a row-wise data table. Okay. Column-wise can say 8%. Okay. And also, so this is the change in the yield, and you take the equation. Okay, intrinsic value equation. මෙතන අපි දාගමු insert 13.60. And then you develop the data table. Okay. You highlight the data table area. Go to what if analysis, data table. This is a column-wise data table. Okay, it has row input cell or column input cell. Okay, column-wise data table, you highlight the required rate of return. This is the one which is changing. Okay. And you calculate the bond prices. You go to data, you go to what if analysis, data table. This is a column-wise data table. Column-wise data table එකේ sorry. Okay. column-wise data table එකක් මේක. එතකොට අපිට initial equation එක ගන්න ඕනේ හැමතිස්සෙම. Initial equation එක ගන්න අපේ model එකෙන්ම initial equation එක මෙතනට ගන්නෙ. හරි model එකෙන් initial equation එක ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ data table එකේදී අහනවා changing variable එක මොකක්ද කියලා. ඒතකොට මෙතනදී changing වෙන්නේ required rate of return එක change වෙන්නේ column එකක. row එකක change වෙනවා නම් ඒක row input cell එකක් වෙනවා. හරි. Once you develop the data table, remember don't delete or do anything within the data table. හරි. ඒක කරොත් computer එක stuck වෙනවා. It will take, you will lose lot of time in your exam. Okay. So here our rate was at 13.6. We got the value of 39.08. Okay. But anyway, what you have to remember is don't try to change anything. Data table එක හැදුවාගෙන් පස්සේ table එක ඇතුලේ වෙනස් කරන්න යන්න එපා. එතකොට data table එකේ හැමතිස්සෙම මේ initial equation එක තියෙනවා. If it looks odd, so here it would be required rate of return and this should be the value. And when initial equation එක delete කරන්න යන්නත් එපා. ඒක නිසා what you do is you go to format cells, custom, hide කරලා දාන්න. Semicolon, hide කරලා. Okay. Don't try to delete any of these. It will the computer will get stuck. So you have the required rate of return, the value, and bond prices are changing discount rates. Okay, so this is how you develop a data table, or else you develop row wise. So that is how you do the sensitivity analysis using data table. So that is regarding stock valuation. So we did this sum. No, we did this one. Next day, what we'll do is we'll go for the second problem. Second problem looks like this. Okay, there's some forecasting to do. And then finally, even for the bond stock valuation, we will be developing a dynamic chart with changing inflation rate and earning retention ratio. We will develop this for the next day. So we have completed this and we completed this for today with the sensitivity analysis. So we'll stop for today and we'll come back with stock valuation, and then we will be doing financial planning. Okay. I'll upload the bond immunization sum today. Okay, thank you.